Hi everybody, my name is Dennis, and welcome back to another album review. Today we're reviewing the second studio album from American singer-songwriter Black, entitled East Atlanta Love Letter. Now, to start off, this project was really boring in my opinion. The production was lackluster throughout, and it failed to do anything interesting. A lot of times it bordered that fine line between simplistic and smooth and just plain boring. And unfortunately, many times it fell into the latter. And that's not necessarily for all of the songs on here, though. Something like Pretty Little Fears I found quite enjoyable. I thought it was a sweet love song that had decent enough vocals and enjoyable enough production and a really great verse from J. Cole. He really does convey the feelings of love effectively, and I was really impressed with this song. And right after that, we have another song that was really enjoyable, Disconnect, which had a really great chorus. It was probably one of the best choruses on the album. And it displays this emotion of sadness, not wanting to upset the person you care about, but also acknowledging that it might happen at times. And another song that I enjoyed was Stan, the closing track, but I have a bit of a complicated opinion on this one because I thought it was by far the best produced and the best sung song over the entire album. It wasn't even close in my opinion. But the chorus where he says, "I want you to love me like a Stan," I just can't get behind that vocal. To me, it encourages being in a relationship where you love the person to an unhealthy and obsessive degree. And even though I know I'm nitpicking with this one lyric, it's something that stood out to me that I just can't put aside. It promotes something really unhealthy, and it doesn't acknowledge the unhealthiness of this. It fully supports this. It treats this like it's a good thing, and it's not. But I mean, despite that, that's just a personal qualm with it. Like I said, it had amazing production, and I loved the vocals on it. I thought it had a really nice sentiment to it, and I can appreciate the intention with the song, even if I don't think the message was delivered quite to the fullest extent. So I found myself forgiving it this one line here that I don't particularly care for. Even if it is in the chorus, I still enjoy the song overall. But other than those three songs, there's not an interesting sound on this album. The vocals are so monotone, and I feel like a hypocrite at times. I'm thinking, I want him to do something more interesting with his vocals, but then as soon as he does try to do something more interesting, this is especially prevalent on something like Scripture or Balenciaga Challenge, it just doesn't perform well at all. He tries to do something with his vocals, and it just isn't effective. It creates little to no emotion. What he's saying isn't interesting. The production behind it isn't interesting. And it just becomes a really boring project, one that's really easy to sleep through. I mean, from the get-go, songs like Unfair, it's so bland. It's nothing. There's not much to hate about it, because there's barely anything there at all. Like, you have maybe one instrument in the background, and if you're lucky, you'll get two or three on a song, and fairly monotone vocals that are hard to really hate, but it's hard to get any enjoyment out of it either. And he has a few featured artists on here, but other than that J. Cole feature, these are all really missed opportunities, I think. We have some really talented people like Khalid on here, and they're just not utilized. They don't add anything to the song, and they don't particularly have a detrimental effect. They just kind of are there. One of the worst features I thought was that of Future on the song East Atlanta Love Letter, the title track of the album, where even though I didn't think this was a horrible song, I hate how Future literally just repeats the verse that Black does. It almost seems like someone went into a karaoke bar, sang a song, and the very next person sings the exact same song just to try and one-up them. No one's happy about that. It doesn't matter if you did better or worse, it's just a really bad move. And doing this intentionally was a huge mistake in my opinion. Whereas something, going back to that J. Cole feature, did something new and interesting with the song, while still the half with Black's part is still interesting, still pretty well done. It's just not impressive at all with this song. I think they missed a lot of potential here using Future. And from this, I found one thing in the lyrics. He's talking about how a lot of times writing his own songs is very difficult, but he's happy that they come out so well, which is I find pretty strange because maybe I'm just missing something, but I fail to see any sort of interesting lyrics other than the ones like I said, especially on Pretty Little Fears. But everything is just so ho hum. There's so bland, so uninteresting that it's something that's very hard to criticize, something that's very hard to critique. It's like an art critic just trying to critique a blank canvas. Maybe there might be one line on the page, maybe two. And it's something that's just hard to critique. It's so minimalistic, but it doesn't utilize this to its benefit. It works against the album in a lot of ways. And even though I don't hate it, I think that there is some enjoyment to be had. There's just nothing interesting being done. And like I said, there's not too much that's egregiously bad, maybe with the exception of something like Nonchalant or Scripture, which both have pretty horrible production. He completely goes away from the minimalistic style to something that's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, I've heard a lot worse. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot worse out there, but that doesn't make this good. Nonchalant is so boring with the vocals. I've said that he's monotone, but this is the prime example of being purely monotone. Nothing is ever done with the vocals that's even the slight bit intriguing. Nothing that's even the slight bit new or interesting. It's just so bland. And I know I'm just repeating myself saying over and over, it's so bland, it's so boring, but that's the main emotion I'm getting out of this, is that there's just no emotion to be had at all. And it's really sad, because I see he has a lot of potential to make something interesting. Like the song Pretty Little Fears, which was a great collaboration with J. Cole, or even the sentiment behind Stan. There's a lot to be had, but not a lot of that potential was met on this album. So, overall, I was less than impressed. I'm feeling a 4 out of 10. Make sure to listen to it if you feel like it, and tell me what you thought about the album. Tell me how wrong my opinion is, as always, and I'll see you in the next review.